Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.
Welcome to the Age of Jeremy. I am the leader when it comes to advice with business content, creation, software, taxes, investment, education, and all the hobbies that I enjoy. This podcast is about the lessons that I learn as I build businesses. I've been building multiple businesses over the last 5 years, and this podcast is about me sharing what I learn with you. So make sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave a rating on Apple Podcasts or on whatever podcast distribution platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Luminary, Amazon. Make sure that you leave a review so that this can reach more people. I will really appreciate it. Also, I started a YouTube, and you guessed it, it's called Age of Jeremy. Shorts will come out a few times a week. If you don't know what a short is, it is YouTube's answer to TikTok. And then I'll also post some longer videos, like 8 to 15 minutes. Those will come out every other Thursday at 5 p.m. starting. It started on July 7th. So the next one won't be out until July, 21st or something along those lines. I also post every day on TikTok at Age of Jeremy, Instagram at Age of Jeremy, and Twitter at Age of Jeremy Q. If you want to reach out to me, you can hit me up on Snapchat at Age of Jeremy. I also have a Twitch channel at Age of Jeremy. I tried to stream. I streamed playing World of Warhammer. I do not know what I did, but no one watched it except for like one person, and none of the video shared to Twitch afterwards. So I'm learning as I go. And again, that's what this podcast is about, me sharing with you all of the stuff that I'm learning along the way. And I do not currently have a schedule for the Twitch, but I will eventually, and you will be the first to know. You can be notified when I am live on Twitch by subscribing to my Twitter, which is, again, at Age of Jeremy Q. I also own a company called Age of Radio. We are a media company that offers a free podcast hosting platform that we license. It's a company called Megaphone, and the ability to join our podcast network is absolutely free. Check out the website at ageofradio.org. We also offer editing services and equipment sales. You can, again, check that out at ageofradio.org. We'll be moving that over to ageofradio.com this year. We are all about building a community at Age of Radio. Our Facebook group, Addicted to Podcasting, is available. You can go on Facebook and search in Addicted to Podcasting and find it. And from there, you can get the link to our Discord. So make sure that you go to Facebook, type in Addicted to Podcasting, join that. If you have a podcast, doesn't matter. If you like podcasts, doesn't matter. Just come and be part of the conversation. I also own a company called 3T Warrior Academy with my business partner, CJV. You can follow him on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter at CoachJV_. That again is CoachJV_. Links to our free Discord are in the episode description below. That free Discord is for 3T Warrior Academy, not for the Age of Radio one. That one, go to Facebook. That's how I want you to get in there. So go to Facebook and type in Addicted to Podcasting. I'm also opening up myself for, it sounds weird. I'm opening up myself for bookkeeping and tax services to a small amount of people. If you're interested in that, please email me at jeremy.quintanilla@qfinancialllc.com. Again, that email is in the episode description. You can see our pricing at qfinancialllc.com. All right, I think that's enough. Let's get this show on the road. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. You are listening to Age of Jeremy. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm the co-founder of Age of Radio and 3T Fitness, and, well, other businesses that I am working on. This podcast is about everything that I learn and the trials and tribulations it took to learn them. I hope you enjoy. All right. I want to talk a little bit today. It's kind of a motivational podcast. I don't know really how long it'll be because I haven't really written this down or thought it through, other than the fact that I think that you need to hear it, or any entrepreneur or small business or person needs to hear this. And I'm going to try to reflect on my life and give how I learned about this, maybe some of the lessons that were beneficial for me that helped me be able to do this, which I don't think a lot of people are able to do this. And that is taking responsibility for your life. Um, Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have feelings and be compassionate for other people, but once you are able to, right? I was able to at 16. Maybe not everybody's able to, but once you're an adult, you have the ability to make your life what you want it to be. And the hardest thing that I think that we have in our societies now is not being aware of how we are about certain things. And so for me, one of the things that I'm constantly aware of is my, I guess, impatience sometime with individuals, and impatience on how I react to certain things. And that is something of me being aware of who I am and realizing it when I do certain things, and then reflecting on that and seeing how I can be better at it. And so if it when something happens in my day and it pisses me off, it wasn't the person that caused the emotion, right? They did something and I allowed that something to cause the emotion, right? If I think that maybe something was unfair, I'm the one that feels the way to that response. I respond to it. And that is how I think that we shouldn't live our lives, by responding to all of these things, but maybe thinking about them and looking at them and saying, how can I be better in this situation? And how can I make the difference? Because the only thing that I can change is me. And that's one of the things that I don't think that we have in our society, at least with how I see people. And it's one of the most beneficial things that I've had in my life. And I think that comes from an awareness of who you are and being okay to say that something is your fault. And I think that we live in a society where we don't think that anything is our fault. And that makes us then react to certain stimuli and blame other people when we need to be cognizant of the things that we are doing. Right. And so nothing can save you. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from Buddhism and from esoteric practices and occult practices is that the only thing that can save me is myself, which means that I'm the only one that's able to do things that make my life better and how I want them to be. And I'm gonna and so I think there's a few things that can help us be aware of that, which are the tips that I'm going to talk about from things that I can remember that I did that helped me be more aware of who I am. And then I also think that you have to, in your mind, make the decision to change. And I guess it is kind of a selfish thing, right? To be like, I should be this way, but it's not really a selfish thing, because when you're making the decision to make your life better, it in turn, I think, makes the world better and makes other people's lives better, right? Because you are becoming a better person. And we don't take enough time to better ourselves as like the individual at the individual level, right? And what I mean by that is understanding maybe how we respond to emotions, working on our emotional intelligence, working on how we respond to people's impatience. And me specifically, it's who I'm talking to in this. And maybe, responding with anger, right? That's not very wise or very smart. And I think that we can do a better job with that. So the things that I think that helped make me more self-aware of who I was, is a few things. One, I think meditation. And I mean meditation in the sense where, um there's two really good types of meditation. There's the one where you're breathing in, right? And as I'm breathing in, I'm counting. And the idea is that I'm counting so no thoughts come in. Okay? That's one type of meditation. That's usually attributed to Zen meditation, right? It's to clear our minds of thoughts. The second type of meditation is maybe Vipassana or Vishpashana, or however you want to pronounce it. I don't pronounce it properly. I don't pronounce a lot of things properly, so I'm sorry. And so with that, it is more along the lines of, um, It is more along the lines of letting thoughts come in, respond, like recognizing them, right? Not responding to them, recognizing that thought coming in, and then letting it leave your body. So, for instance, if I'm sitting and I'm breathing, there's going to be empty space. And sometimes in that empty space, maybe I'll think about something that happened at work. Okay. So maybe today, for instance, me and Mario, we were working on Phoenix crypto assets bookkeeping. Okay. There was some not Mario. Mario was fine with it, but we ran into some difficulty things that we had to figure out. Okay. There were some difficulties. So as I'm breathing in and that difficulty comes in, hey, that was difficult. And then I let that pass and go through. And then I keep going back to breathing. Okay. And that lets us be aware of our specific thoughts. And when we can become more aware of how we're thinking and how we're reacting to thoughts and recognizing that thought, then we're able to recognize how we're responding to certain things. Right. So when, someone makes me upset, I can be, man, that made me upset. But I don't have to respond in an upset way. I can recognize that feeling, be cognizant of it, understand it, and let it go. And then be able to respond with a non-emotional response. And that's what I think that meditation really helps with. And I think is one of the reasons. And by all means, I get angry all the time. I get impatient all the time. In no way am I any type of perfect, right? But I am aware of how I'm feeling about certain things and saying, hey, I don't necessarily think that I need to feel that way in that situation because that's not what that other person meant. Because a lot of the times when other people do things, they're not doing it in any ill will or ill intent or on purpose. They're just doing it because they're responding to the stimuli in their life, and then they're allowing that to impact their situation, and then that is turn is going out to you. So I really recommend you I don't have any books off the top of my head, so I'm sorry about that. But go and look up, it's Vispassana, Vipassana or Vishpassana. Mo in our 3-2 Warrior Academy, she would know exactly how it's pronounced because she practices yoga, which brings me to my second one. Now, I don't practice yoga. Most of my exercise includes like lifting weights and bicycling and things like that. And I need to start practicing more and more yoga. I recognize that. But when I was younger, I practiced a lot of yoga. And yoga helps you be aware of your body, which creates awareness about how you feel. And I think that they go in tandem with each other, right? So in the East, right, in Indian and Hindu religions, the yoga is the occultism of the East, right? And so in their practice, you utilize yoga to get control over your body and be aware of it. So then you can sit for longer times and become aware of your emotions and how to react to them and move yourself through different, stages of enlightenment into godhood or whatever you want to call it, right? And so that's one of the beneficial things about yoga is becoming aware of your body, because the more we're aware of our body, the more we're going to be aware of how we react to certain things. And then we're going to know that things are in our control, right? Because you spend a lot of time in certain poses. Those are in our control. We learn to relax. That's now becomes in our control. And then when these things happen, we learn to relax ourselves at a moment of notice, and it's aware of it. And we can respond properly to it. So one, make sure that you're practicing meditation. I can't stress that enough. Two, maybe learn to do some yoga or hatha yoga where it's just the movements and the stretching. It doesn't have to be like a crazy workout, but just learning to sit still, stretch your body, get it loose, get it relaxed, get it where it needs to be so that you can then understand your body and become aware of it. The third thing is I believe therapy is like one of the best things that people can do. And a lot of the times we think that because we're in therapy, or at least I think that we think this way, because we're in therapy, we think that we have a problem. It doesn't mean that. It means that we go to therapy so we can get better at understanding ourselves, because then when we can understand ourselves, we can be more understanding of situations and stimuli that come to us so that we can react properly to them, because we understand why we're feeling this way about things, how we're feeling this way about things, and then we can respond to them. And then we're better able to communicate with people. because it's so interesting. I've been thinking just about how I've seen communication when I was growing up, and I grew up in a somewhat difficult household where, my stepfather was, verbally abusive and sometimes to an extent physically abusive, I guess you could say. And so every time there was an emotional thing, you couldn't have a real conversation. And so when I look about how I communicate about things, it's so angry and so impatient and so, horrible. And I, right, know that I've been able to get better and better at how I respond and how I communicate with people by doing all of those things that I just said. By one, meditating, two, practicing yoga, and three, working on myself in therapy and being able to look at ourselves and be able to look at our problems, talk about them, communicate them to ourselves, communicate them with other people, and be able to have conversations about it. And it doesn't mean that we need to be negative towards other people about all the problems that we have. Maybe it's just more along the lines of saying, hey, I was feeling this way. What are your thoughts if I did this, to get advice, right? Rather than just maybe unloading on people all of your stress and problems, because then that, I think, lowers our vibrational frequency, or what I like to call our aura. And so I think that if we are better understanding how we are, we can always do a better job about being able to communicate. And when we communicate properly, we have better lives, they're happier, we're able to respond to situations much differently, and we always don't think that the world's giving a shit, right? Because then we can look at the shit and be like, okay, hey, I know I can look at myself. How can I respond to this? Hey, why don't I do this? And that allows us to then take the actions that we have and understand that we have control over them. Because in all those things that I said, that is us gaining more control, right? Learning to breathe is actually gaining us more control by letting go. Being able to do yoga is letting us more control by letting go. Learning how we are, right, and who we are, it's making it okay when these things happen and saying, hey, I can do a better job responding. I can do a better job taking action. I can do a better job in the things that I'm doing in my life, right? And then the other thing with therapy is it helps us look at life and saying, how can I do better at life, right? How can I be better at planning? How can I be better at looking at all these stresses and having them come in and being able to overcome them so that I can accomplish the goals that I'm setting for myself, the things that I have on my vision board. And then I can start taking control of my life, because nothing in this world happens to you. It happens for you. And when you realize that, you'll be able to make stronger, better decisions. Remember, be thankful, grateful, and kind. We'll talk at you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to The Age of Jeremy. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. If you can do me a favor, please rate this podcast if your podcatcher allows you to. Talk to you soon.